Hello everyone. Welcome back. I've taken some time out of my busy schedule doing incredibly important hunter-related things to put together this new tutorial for you. We're going to have a look at the Hunter's Toolkit today, hunter abilities, and how I like to use them. Now, I'm not going to go over every hunter ability in excruciating detail, but I will try to touch on everything important. Before we get started, if I put section XYZ in the middle of an annotation, I'm referencing my Hunter Macros and Tips thread. Check the description for a link to that thread. Hunters are a versatile class. They can be a group's best friend, or their worst nightmare, depending on how you use your abilities. We have incredible crowd control, awesome burst damage, and great utility. Let's review damage dealing first. First, let's go over our main shots: Auto Shot, Aim Shot, and Multi-Shot. Since we've been over these abilities a bit in the basic damage guide, I'll try to make this quick. Auto Shot has a hidden 0.5 second cast time. Its cooldown depends on your quiver, ranged weapon, and haste abilities like quick shots or rapid fire. Get a timer for it. Stand still if Auto Shot's off cooldown. Shoot stuff. Stay on the move or use other abilities while it's on cooldown. Aim Shot is 11 points into the Marksman specialization and is our most powerful damage dealing shot, period. Try to build into this as often and as soon as possible. Aim Shot benefits from weapon damage, so prioritize slow weapons with high damage numbers to get the most out of this ability. Aim Shot has a 3-second cast time no matter your weapon speed, but it goes down to a 2.14 second cast time during rapid fire, 2.31 second cast time during quick shots, and 1.65 second cast time with both rapid fire and quick shots. It always has a 6-second cooldown. Multi-Shot has a hidden 0.5 second cast time, just like Auto Shot. Its cooldown is 10 seconds. Downrank this shot if you have mana issues, but try not to do so if you can help it. If you want more information on these shots, go check out the basic damage and burst rotation tutorials. Let's move on. Serpent Sting is one of the first damaging shots you get, acquired at level 4. It poisons your target. It may be tempting to initiate a pull with Serpent Sting when you're a low-level hunter, but don't do it. Pull with Auto Shot or Aim Shot under most circumstances. In fact, let me show you a good rotation at low levels. Auto, Arcane, Auto, Concussive, Auto, Serpent, Auto, Arcane, Auto. Stutter step while performing and you'll be just fine without a pet. Fill in the blanks where you lack abilities. As you can see, hitting level 10 with poor kiting or pulling is made far more difficult. Serpent Sting's damage doesn't scale up with anything, so it becomes less effective and less efficient the better your gear is. That said, use this ability if you need a little bit of extra damage to kill something faster, or if you will be fighting in melee and want to complement your melee strikes with damage over time effects. It can also be used to keep pesky rogues from vanishing or stealthing. Drop this ability on a stealthy if you see one. Volley is another ranged ability that deals damage over time. It's channeled, costs a lot of mana, has a 60-second cooldown, and must be used from range. It also doesn't scale up with your attack power due to dealing arcane damage. On the plus side, it deals damage in an area rather than to one target, and its power can be increased with the Barrage talent from the Marksman tree. Try to use this between multi-shots, preferably against a lot of enemies. To that end, a fall-through macro, would be a good idea. Even then, it may be a better idea to take out enemies one by one with your single target burst. That's up to your discretion. Hunters have 4 types of traps. 2 of them are fire traps, and the other 2 are frost traps. One of each category is single target, and the other one of each category is area effect. Fire traps deal damage, while frost traps control your enemies. Though hunter traps are likely the most amazing in PvP, you can make use of these traps against monsters by leading them into your traps. They can't be used in combat, so lay them in preparation and pull enemies from afar. If you want to lay them in combat, you'll have to blow Feign Death. A macro is extremely important for ensuring this is successful. Immolation Trap is the most powerful damage over time ability that you have. It's the first trap you get, and it lights a single enemy on fire. Combined with Serpent Sting, the damage from this trap and that shot can add up pretty quickly, potentially making any warriors that try to get in melee with you regret that decision. If you want to dot something up, I'd recommend this trap over Serpent Sting, unless you want both. Explosive Trap is our other fire trap. It deals area effect damage, first directly, then over time. If you find yourself in melee against multiple targets, just drop one of these. It deals more damage than Volley and can be used more often, though it costs quite a lot of mana. Next, hunters have a couple of damaging melee abilities. Raptor Strike is our primary melee attack. You'll have it since level 1. It triggers on your auto attack and increases its damage. With survival talent Savage Strikes, your Raptor Strike can deal a startling amount of damage very often. Because it increases your auto attack damage, if you want to get the most out of this ability, use a slow two-handed weapon. That's standard hunter melee for you. Go in, strike, get out. Due to the way it triggers, it can be used at the same time as other abilities, like Mongoose Bite or Wing Clip. Observe how when I strike in this split second, a Raptor Strike and Wing Clip go off simultaneously. A macro for Raptor Strike and Mongoose Bite might be a good idea. Mongoose Bite is our secondary melee strike. It can only be used after a successful dodge and doesn't really do all that much damage, but if you're forced to fight in melee, you're more than likely going to need all the damage you can get. I'd recommend you consider it, and it can be used painlessly in a macro with Raptor Strike, but you may opt out of it if you don't care for it. If you go and get yourself a Ravager, Bladestorm is your go-to melee AoE powerhouse. I've been over this in the Ravager tutorial, but I bring it up because it could potentially be the best AoE damage you've got as a hunter. I have tested it on Nostalrius, and it can sometimes tick 3 times rather than 2. However, it can be interrupted by using abilities, so rather than spam the rank 1 wing clip button, we have to hit the key when the global cooldown comes up every time. I know, not as cool, but it was a lot of fun in Blackwing Lair's suppression room. Finally, there are two races with useful racials for dealing damage. Orc hunters have an active racial called Blood Fury, which boosts your base melee attack power. This is particularly useful for a Ravager build, and coincidentally they have an axe specialization, but really it may just be more of a liability. On the plus side, an Orc hunter's pet deals 5% more damage, and they have a high chance to resist stun effects. Trolls have my favorite racials of all the Horde races for hunters. Their active is Berserking, which can boost your attack speed by 10 to 30%, increasing with the less health you have. The additional speed is great on a hunter. They can also regenerate health in the middle of combat, which is nice. Combined with a Troll's Blood Elixir for even more fun. Troll hunters also deal more damage to beasts, and have an enhanced bow skill. Hunters offer a lot of utility to their parties as well. Here we get onto the less known, but nevertheless very important facet of the Hunter Toolkit, pulling for tanks, improving speed, and staying informed. Arcane Shot is your first direct damage ranged ability, acquired at level 6. It doesn't scale up with your attack power, due to dealing arcane damage, and it has a 6-second cooldown by default. Early on, it's a nice ability to have for dealing damage, but it'll become both inefficient and even obsolete for that purpose by level 20, if you spec into Marksman. It's made even further obsolete by sharing a cooldown with Aim Shot, but it still has a purpose. Rank 1 Arcane Shot may just be the single most useful utility shot that you have. It deals very low damage and has an extremely low mana cost at level 60, so here are just a few ideas. Tag an enemy from 41 yards away very quickly. Pull for a tank and keep practically no threat. Tag an enemy player in Arathi Basin or Alterac Valley, preventing the capture of a flag. Kite with it. Slow a hunter with aspect of the Cheetah trying to run away from you. The list goes on. Think of it like your poke ability. You poke someone with it. No threat, no mana, no damage, just a poke. I guarantee that there are lots of uses for this ability, so play around with it. Another ranged utility shot we've got is Distracting Shot. This is your taunt as a hunter. It causes plenty of threat and is probably best used to save the life of a friend. Say your healer accidentally pulls threat and you have no CC. Use this to pull the enemy off your healer. Or say your pet is taking a serious beating, but you have lots of health. Fire this shot to try and save your pet's life. This shot can be fired from any angle. Even if you're facing away from your target, as long as you're in range, this shot will go off. Aside from Serpent Sting, your other two default Sting abilities are Viper and Scorpid, and they're utility shots. In vanilla, it's possible to macro these by class. Scorpid isn't that big a deal, but if you see a melee aggressor assailing a friend, tag them with it if nothing else will work, and hopefully it'll help them survive. Viper Sting, on the other hand, is awesome. Keep it up on a mana user, especially one that can't dispel poisons, and watch them become useless. The tricky part about Viper Sting is surviving long enough for it to really take a toll, or draining a target that has support. In a small fight, like versus 2 or 3 enemies, try to lock down any Dispeller you see with some sort of CC, like Freezing Trap or Wyvern Sting, and Viper Sting any vulnerable targets. If you're in a large-scale fight and want to weaken the enemy, rather than bursting down a single target, stay back and try to Viper Sting every mana user you see. It could eventually win your team the fight. Any player worth their salt will tell you that information is power. You can't prevent a gank that you can't see, and you can't save an ally you don't know is in danger. Hunters have the extremely useful ability to track targets of almost any sort. By yourself, you can spot gankers before they get to you, find weakened enemy targets to take out, stalk a specific person or monster, find allies to stay close to. Tracking is some of the best security you could ask for. Track hidden will even boost your stealth detection. If you're in a group, stay together and watch your minimap. If you see a unique name, ping its location for your groupmates. Combined with Eagle Eye, you'll have all the information you need. Use Eagle Eye to spy on base defenses in Arathi Basin, scout out enemy presence in Warsong Gulch or Alterac Valley, or determine the nature of an unidentified player on your minimap, hostile or friendly. Targets you are tracking also appear on your minimap when your sight is moved with Eagle Eye. Not many people know this, but you can also target the minimap with your Eagle Eye spell. Do this to quickly respond to a new target. Aspect of the Cheetah is greatly underused in combat. I've been over this ability in the Cheetah tutorial, so I'm just going to say this. You can use this ability to save time in combat. Your wing clip only lasts so long, so if you go Cheetah after getting out of melee range, you put more distance between yourself and your target faster, and can get off more auto shots. Alternatively, you can move faster in and out of melee to get a Bladestorm or multi-shot off more quickly and efficiently. Just remember to turn it off when you're about to take some more damage. Same goes for Pack. Scatter Shot is one of your most useful utility abilities. On a 30-second cooldown, it disorients your target for 4 seconds. It deals half your auto shot damage and can be broken by subsequent damage. Try not to think of this shot as crowd control. This is a setup shot. You combo it with other things. Use it to stop a passing mob near your tank, or remove something from your healer while the tank rushes to grab it, or just to keep an enemy from acting out while you freeze it in a trap. This shot is the only shot you can use in melee range. Consequently, it has a shorter range than other shots, so use it to punish encroaching aggressors more than anything else. Finally, we have the bane of all rogues, druids, and night elves, Flare. This is a zoning ability, meaning you use it to secure a zone from whatever the ability counters, in this case, stealthies. If you're not zoning with it, keep it off cooldown and pop it after an enemy has entered stealth, so they don't simply move out of it before vanishing. There are only 2 races on the Alliance that can train to become hunters, and each of them have utility racials. Dwarf Hunter's Stoneform racial is an extremely useful deterrent to rogues and warriors, especially before you get to drop freezing traps on them in combat. This makes dwarves very resilient and difficult to pin down in PvP. Their gun racial may seem very attractive, but there are no guns at endgame that are superior to certain bows or crossbows. They do, at least, have a little bit of frost resistance, which is obviously useful against frost mages, if only a little bit. Dwarves can also track treasure, such as chests of goodies or food or drink crates. Shadowmeld is my favorite racial for hunters on the Alliance. It complements hunters in many ways. Our burst is great, so being sneaky and ambushing someone is made even easier with this racial, and that burst is made even more powerful with Night Elf's high base agility. We can even use Shadowmeld in a combat situation, thanks to Feign Death. Night Elf's nature resistance is more applicable to high-end raiding against bosses Anon-Kiraj and Naxxramas. Night Elves also have a higher dodge chance than other hunters, and our Wisp Spirit makes dying much easier. Let's move on to our final category, crowd control. It's no secret that hunters have incredible crowd control. In fact, our only defensive cooldowns come from the survival talent Deterrence, or from a racial like Stoneform or War Stomp. So, we rely on CC to escape from danger. But, although our core CC abilities are applicable to nearly anything, they're delicate and can be broken if the target is attacked. Returning to the subject of traps, we have two traps for crowd control, Freezing Trap and Frost Trap. Freezing Trap is probably the most annoying to any non-hunter. It's our longest CC. It puts an enemy in stasis for 10 to 20 seconds or until they take damage. It can be dispelled as a magic effect. While you could leave one of these things lying around someplace and hope some poor sap walks right into it, this is the trap you'll most likely blow Feign Death on and drop in combat. To ensure that the trap goes off, it's a good idea to scattershot the enemy before dropping the trap so they can't evade it. However, beware other engineers. A Gyro Freeze Ice Reflector can make your trap freeze you instead. In the event that an engineer pops their Ice Reflector, you can see a bit of frost magic encircling their bodies. Surprise them with an Immolation Trap and a Wing Clip instead, and play it safe until you get to a better position. The Frost Trap is the area effect Ice Trap. It slows enemies in a large radius and kills weak computers. Frost Trap is the best zoning ability hunters have. You can completely lock down a choke point with this, and enemy players will need a creative strategy to counter a well-placed Frost Trap. If you're a PvPer, try to be aware of tight spaces and long corridors where a Frost Trap would be a wonderful asset. If possible, fight in these spaces when you're outnumbered and outmatched, and you'll keep many enemies at bay. Concussive Shot is the first CC ability you get, at level 8. It slows your target for 4 seconds, has a 12-second cooldown, and can be upgraded to possibly stun your target. It can be dispelled as a magic effect. Improved Concussive Shot is an awesome talent, especially at low levels. That 3-second stun is practically a death sentence. Since Concussive Shot has a pretty high cooldown for only 4 seconds of slow, don't just use it willy-nilly. If you see an enemy rushing towards you, that's when you use it and move back a bit. If the enemy is making a run for it, use it at that time. This ability also makes getting those last 2 levels before you have a pet a breeze. Wing Clip is one of your most powerful CC abilities. It has no cooldown, a low mana cost, and slows an enemy for 10 seconds. It can even be upgraded to possibly root your target. The catch? It's a melee ability. You cannot use it at range, so if you happen to be in melee for a moment, use your Raptor Strike and Wing Clip simultaneously, and get it right on out. The improved Wing Clip root is easier to proc than the improved Concussive Shot stun due to Wing Clip's lack of a cooldown, and it lasts 5 seconds rather than 3. One interesting point about Wing Clip is that it actually has a 5-yard range, so it's possible to Wing Clip a target without getting struck by it, but this takes some practice and is best done in combination with some setup, like Scattershot into Wing Clip. Counterattack is another melee CC ability. It's a survival talent and will instantly root your target for 5 seconds. It has a very short cooldown and cannot be blocked, dodged, or parried. The catch is that you need to parry your target before you can counterattack. This is easier said than done because Aspect of the Monkey only increases dodge chance, and you'd need to sink talent points into deflection or pop deterrence if you want a higher parry chance. It happens more often than you'd think, and if you just play it a little safer while deterrence is on cooldown, you shouldn't run into problems. When deterrence is on cooldown, do not rely on your counterattack. The ensuing death would be your mistake. In other words, deterrence drastically reduces the RNG element. Without deterrence, counterattack is very much an RNG ability. Intimidation is your go-to hard CC as a BM hunter. It's on a 1-minute cooldown, causes a ton of threat, and stuns your pet's target for 3 seconds. Although your pet applies the stun, you give the order to your pet to do so. So, if you're polymorphed or stunned or something, you cannot order your pet to use Intimidation. Still, it's a great ability and the only reliable stun a hunter could have. If there is any reason to have pet control macros, this would be it. You need to be able to order your pet onto the target you want to stun, just like you need to pull your pet off your scattershot target. Scare Beast is most useful for questing or in dungeons, but you can actually apply the spell to an enemy druid or shaman. It has a 30-second cooldown. Most players will take note of your spell and shift back to human form to avoid the fear, but it's worked here or there, especially if your target is distracted. The last crowd control ability we're going to look at is Wyvern Sting. It cannot be used in combat. It has a 2-minute cooldown and instantly puts a target to sleep for 12 seconds. After the target has awoken, either by being damaged during sleep or when the effect has worn off, they'll take damage over time for another 12 seconds. It can be dispelled as a poison effect. Not a lot of people know how to use Wyvern Sting very well, and it tends to be avoided. But if you have this and use it well, you can be a CC monster and an amazing support. It functions a lot like Freezing Trap in that it keeps a target wherever it was shot for the duration of the sleep, and in that it can't be used in combat. So think of it like a long-range Freezing Trap. With Hawkeye, this shot has a 41-yard range. You go up to Lumbermill and sleep the healer in the back with this thing, and if they don't have a friend who can dispel, they are screwed. In dungeons, you can keep 2 targets controlled with this ability. Pull with Wyvern Sting, lead one into a Freezing Trap, slaughter the third. Kill stun target, then trap target. The only race with a CC racial capable of rolling a hunter is the Tauren. War Stomp is a short-range AoE ability that stuns up to 5 targets for 2 seconds. This is an excellent deterrent for a melee aggressor. As a hunter, you can expect your enemies to try and get close, so punish them with this. Tauren also have significantly higher health than any other race in the game, especially with a talent like Survivalist. Like Night Elves, they are resistant to nature effects, though given the fact that you'll be facing paladins instead of shamans, it's a little bit less useful. Alright guys, that concludes this tutorial. I hope you learned something, got a better idea of hunter abilities and stuff. Good luck, and happy hunting!